Based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational cycles. I'm honored, and I'm also more honored that because, you know, what we're talking about is so important and so meaningful.
He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with...
Blake Lively's legal battle with Justin Baldoni has grown far more serious than anyone expected. What began as allegations about inappropriate behavior on set quickly turned into a complex and highly public legal fight involving court setbacks, legal strategies, media influence, and the possibility of more people becoming involved. This dispute is no longer just about misconduct claims or contract disagreements. It has become a high-stakes public showdown. Lively's team made strong public accusations, claiming Baldoni's actions caused both professional damage and emotional distress. But many details remained unclear. Despite this, they moved forward with a formal complaint, signaling they were prepared for a long fight. As the case progressed, it became increasingly complicated, with multiple filings, aggressive courtroom tactics, and private issues spilling into the public eye. Media coverage intensified the situation, while fans closely analyzed every update online. The situation took a major turn when the court rejected evidence submitted by Lively's team, raising questions about the strength of her case and leaving observers uncertain about which side, if any, will ultimately prevail. The communication records and potential witness statements were expected to strengthen Blake Lively's case, but the judge ruled that they did not meet the legal standards required at that stage, without fully explaining whether the issue was relevance or procedural errors. Despite this setback, Lively's lawyers announced plans to file an amended complaint to address the court's concerns, though the judge imposed a firm deadline of February 14th, making it clear that repeated delays would not be tolerated. Unexpectedly, Lively's team then requested an extension until March 5th, citing the complexity of adding new parties to the lawsuit and the need to review newly surfaced evidence and witness statements. One of the new figures mentioned was Jed Wallace, who was involved in a separate legal case in Texas, which Lively's attorneys claimed raised overlapping issues that could affect their strategy against Justin Baldoni. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Fredman, strongly opposed the request, arguing that Wallace's case was not a new development but a predictable response to Lively's earlier legal actions, and that her team had long been aware of the overlapping matters. He characterized the extension request as a deliberate legal tactic rather than a genuine surprise, saying it did not justify delaying the case further. As the legal battle continues, each filing and deadline adds to the tension, showing how a dispute that once seemed straightforward has evolved into a high-profile courtroom fight shaped by strategy, public attention, and unexpected players who could influence the final outcome.
This is a horrible thing to say. And he's like, I've got a long list. And I was like, oh, really? Because I just have one on my list.
Honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more...
Fredman pushed back even harder, accusing Lively of applying a double standard by denying Baldoni's team an extension earlier while now asking for more time herself. He questioned her credibility, arguing that her current request directly contradicted her previous position and framed it as a strategic move rather than a genuine necessity. In the end, the judge struck a compromise that clearly favored Baldoni's side, granting Lively only a one-day extension instead of the several weeks she had requested, sending a clear message that further delays would not be allowed. Frustrated and under intense pressure, Lively's legal team was forced to rush preparations, scrambling to gather witness testimony, secure key documents, and refine their arguments in record time. As the deadline approached, another challenge surfaced: whether Lively could secure strong witnesses to support her claims. One early possibility was actress Jenny Slate, a known friend of Lively who had spoken positively about her in public, but she ultimately declined to become involved in the legal fight. This left Lively's attorneys in a difficult position, as subpoenaing a reluctant ally could harm their public image and appear overly aggressive.
Critics also warned that relying on additional actors might weaken the case by creating the impression of irrelevant testimony, especially since there was no guarantee Slate's statements would influence the court. Still, the mere consideration of her involvement underscored Lively's determination to continue the fight, signaling that this was no longer just a personal dispute, but part of a much broader legal and public battle. The pattern Lively claims she intends to expose now extends beyond the courtroom and into the media, where her legal team sought restrictions on Fredman's public statements, arguing that his frequent media appearances could influence public opinion and discourage or shape witness testimony. While such requests are common in high-profile cases, the judge was not persuaded and declined to issue a broad gag order, instead warning Fredman that continuing the media battle could backfire and lead the court to speed up the case. The message was unmistakable. If the public spectacle continues, the court is prepared to move faster. As a result, both sides are now racing against time to support their claims through depositions, witness statements, and upcoming hearings, with little room for error. Pressure is mounting as settlement discussions could either intensify or fall apart entirely, depending on how well Lively's revised complaint stands up under close examination within the shortened timeline. Another major uncertainty remains whether additional witnesses will step forward to support Lively or choose to distance themselves from the conflict. Jenny Slate may be only the first of several potential figures, as some witnesses could strengthen Lively's claims with corroborating testimony, while others may side with Baldoni, directly challenging her account and raising doubts about the credibility of her narrative. If the case moves to trial, the credibility and consistency of witness testimony could ultimately decide the outcome, though the legal system often encourages settlement once both sides recognize the risks and unpredictability of a prolonged courtroom battle, especially when financial and reputational stakes are so high. Public debate continues to intensify, with Lively supporters pointing to her long record of charitable work and relatively controversy-free career, while Baldoni's supporters highlight his own philanthropic efforts and stress that no solid evidence of misconduct has been publicly proven. Fans and commentators on both sides scrutinize every detail, from vague text messages to comments by coworkers, hoping each new revelation will reveal the truth. Yet clarity remains elusive amid legal tactics, partial disclosures, and the complexity of civil litigation. Several realities are already clear. Lively's legal team is under extreme time pressure after being denied extended deadlines and must submit a revised complaint that is both strong and precise, fixing earlier weaknesses while responding to new challenges from Baldoni's lawyers and the court. Every document, witness statement, and argument now carries added weight, and even small mistakes could undo months of preparation. At the same time, Fredman continues to apply public pressure, keeping Baldoni's narrative visible in the media, forcing Lively's attorneys to balance building a persuasive legal case with carefully managing public perception. Decisions about whether to subpoena hesitant witnesses or how aggressively to challenge media coverage may shape not only the courtroom result, but also public opinion, setting the stage for a high-stakes legal showdown where reputations, careers, and futures hang in the balance as deadlines approach, witnesses remain uncertain, and media attention continues to intensify. With public opinion constantly shifting, Lively and her legal team are racing against time to present a clear and credible case while navigating one of the most high-profile and unpredictable legal battles Hollywood has seen in years. Baldoni's team shows no signs of slowing down, using every available media platform to release documents aimed at challenging Lively's claims and questioning her version of events. Each new disclosure is designed to control the narrative, apply pressure, and eliminate tolerance for delays, changing explanations, or repeated extension requests. This growing intensity could force a quick resolution or push both sides towards serious settlement talks to avoid a long and uncertain trial. The case highlights how rapidly allegations can escalate when legal action, media coverage, and celebrity status collide, creating consequences far beyond headlines. Financial risks, reputational damage, and strained personal relationships add further complexity, even drawing in figures like Ryan Reynolds through his connection to Lively and professional ties to Baldoni. As Lively's legal team reaches a critical turning point, the question remains whether they can reverse the momentum. Some legal experts believe new evidence or strong witness testimony could dramatically reshape public and legal perceptions of Baldoni's actions, while others remain doubtful, citing weaknesses in Lively's early filings and the court's refusal to grant a meaningful extension as signs of a fragile case. A loss could carry serious consequences, including significant financial costs and long-term damage to Lively's public image and career, making every decision in the coming weeks crucial.
Old, something borrowed, something blue, something new. She sort of like pretends to play with her. So like in the beginning, our oldest is like loving on her and she's like very maternal, and then our middle daughter is just like just.
The stakes could not be higher, as a public trial could damage Blake Lively's reputation far more than a private settlement ever would, potentially changing how longtime fans view her and leaving lasting harm to her public image. Baldoni also faces serious risk, because while his legal team has worked aggressively to shape public opinion through released documents, timelines, and statements, any new evidence that contradicts his narrative could quickly backfire and worsen his standing. All attention is now focused on the amended complaint Lively's team is racing to complete, as it represents their most critical opportunity to strengthen their case. The revised filing must be clear, persuasive, and strong enough to address every challenge raised by Baldoni's attorneys. If the judge accepts it, the case will move into the discovery phase, where both sides will be required to disclose evidence, documents, and witness testimony, marking the start of the true legal battle. However, if the court finds the complaint insufficient, Lively's claims could unravel, weakening her position and potentially discouraging witnesses from coming forward. With time running out, every legal decision carries significant weight, as both sides remain trapped in a high-stakes struggle where public perception, media influence, and legal strategy are deeply intertwined. While a confidential settlement remains possible, neither party is likely to concede easily given the intensity of the dispute and the potential financial and reputational consequences. In the months ahead, more filings, statements, and attempts to control the media narrative are almost certain, with each court ruling shifting the balance of power and shaping the future of this highly publicized legal battle. Whether Blake Lively can turn the situation in her favor now depends largely on how effectively her legal team responds to setbacks, meets tight deadlines, builds strong arguments, and presents convincing evidence, as any misstep, such as missed filings, weak motions, or unpersuasive testimony, could cause damage that goes far beyond financial loss and seriously affect her reputation and long-term influence in Hollywood. Baldoni's approach, by contrast, centers on consistency and control, as his team continues to question Lively's motives, closely examine her evidence, and project confidence in seeing the case through to its conclusion. Regardless of whether the dispute ends in a courtroom verdict or a confidential settlement, public attention remains intense, with fans closely tracking every new development in this high-profile legal fight. The case has taken on the shape of a classic Hollywood drama, with the courtroom serving as the main stage, and the judge's firm stance against unnecessary delays adding urgency that forces both sides to present their arguments clearly and efficiently. With celebrities involved, millions of dollars at risk, and media scrutiny at its peak, the outcome, whether a decisive ruling or a quiet settlement, will stand as a clear reminder of how quickly a professional disagreement can spiral into a public and legal spectacle once it enters the court system.